Breaking news that will impact millions of Americans, and it's about stimulus checks, Social Security, and food stamp benefits. Look at this.
Gasoline prices are way down, grocery prices are way down, energy prices are way down, mortgage rates are down, and inflation has been defeated. But even though his rates are too high, the economy is...
Gas prices are down, grocery costs have slightly dropped, and energy prices have eased. But despite some positive signs, Americans continue to feel the pressure. Mortgage rates remain high, housing costs are unbearable, and inflation, though claimed to be defeated, still hurts wallets across the country. President Trump recently stated that the economy is booming and inflation has been defeated. But do you agree with that statement? Because right now, look at this. New warnings have just been issued by a number of states, lawmakers, and members of the House of Representatives. It all starts with this headline. Look at this. SNAP benefits to halt in some states amid government shutdown. Yes, you heard that right. Millions of Americans who rely on SNAP or food stamp benefits are now facing uncertainty as the government shutdown continues into its third week. Several states are already signaling they won't have funds to issue these payments in November 2025, leaving low-income families, seniors, and disabled individuals in crisis. This is shocking news. Millions may not receive food assistance next month, and for many, SNAP is their only way to afford basic groceries. But it doesn't stop there. Another major headline is raising hope and confusion at the same time. Look at this. Did Trump greenlight $2,000 checks? Here's what happened to the tariff rebate. Across the country, analysts and experts are discussing this possibility. President Trump has repeatedly hinted that he's looking into ways to return tariff revenue to the American people. Some see this as a signal that new stimulus checks could be on the way. However, others argue that this is more political messaging than a concrete plan, especially as inflation fears and the ongoing government shutdown dominate the economy. Still, the question remains, could Trump actually move forward with direct payments tied to his proposed tariff rebate plan? Let's look at what the facts say. Stimulus check October 2025. Rumors of a $2,000 stimulus check in October have been debunked by the IRS, which warns of phishing scams. While Donald Trump revisited the idea of payments between $1,000 and $2,000, no official plan has been introduced. The last official stimulus checks were issued in 2021. So, if no plan exists yet, why are so many Americans talking about these potential payments again? Because Trump's statements have sparked hope that if the economy weakens or the shutdown deepens, he might authorize a form of direct financial relief, especially as millions face losing access to food assistance. And that brings us back to the growing emergency. Look at this. SNAP benefits to halt in some states amid government shutdown. One of the biggest impacts of the government shutdown is about to hit tens of millions of the poorest Americans hard, the halting of a critical food assistance program. This is not a rumor, it's a verified report shared by multiple state officials and confirmed through major outlets like ABC News. Several states have already begun issuing warnings that, without federal funding, they cannot process SNAP payments for November. Look at this. Texas is now warning its millions of recipients that all November SNAP benefits will be halted if the shutdown continues past October 27th. That's one of the largest state populations in the country, and if Texas halts benefits, millions of children, seniors, and low-income families could lose access to food support within days. And it's not just Texas. Pennsylvania officials say they will also not be able to distribute SNAP benefits if the shutdown, now in its 21st day, continues. These warnings are coming from both Republican and Democratic states, showing that this crisis goes beyond politics. It's about survival. Look at this. Other states such as Minnesota and New York are issuing similar warnings, saying benefits are at risk or may be delayed if the shutdown continues. So, how did we get here? SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is entirely funded by the federal government but administered by each state. That's why the timing of the shutdown's impact varies across the country. Look at this. SNAP has traditionally been entirely federally funded, but is administered by states. That means the shutdown's impact on SNAP and when benefits will start to dry up will vary state by state. If the shutdown continues into November, experts predict that millions of families could lose access to their benefits, forcing them to rely on food banks, charities, or go hungry. This could create enormous political pressure on Washington to take emergency action, and some analysts believe that's why President Trump may accelerate the tariff rebate checks idea to offset the damage. Many economists argue that sending out direct payments, even temporary ones, could soften the financial blow of halted SNAP benefits and restore confidence among struggling Americans. However, the debate is far from over. Critics warn that introducing new stimulus payments could add to the national debt and trigger inflation once again. Supporters counter that these payments would be fully funded by tariff revenue, money collected from trade duties, not taxes. So the big question remains, will Trump actually deliver on these promises? At the moment, the administration hasn't confirmed any official plan, but public pressure is growing fast. Social media is flooded with comments from seniors, veterans, and low-income families calling for urgent relief. Many are writing online, "I support stimulus checks." If the shutdown continues, millions who depend on SNAP, Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and veterans benefits could face serious hardship. For seniors, these programs are lifelines. They use Social Security for rent and prescriptions, while food stamps cover their groceries. If SNAP benefits stop, these Americans will have no safety net left. That's why many are urging immediate government action, either by ending the shutdown or releasing emergency funds. Meanwhile, Trump's comments about the economy being amazing have sparked mixed reactions. While stock markets have remained relatively strong, everyday Americans say they don't feel that recovery in their wallets. High housing costs, medical bills, and grocery prices still dominate household struggles. If the shutdown persists, we could see cascading effects, delayed Social Security offices, disrupted Medicare processing, and growing pressure on states to provide emergency food programs. Many experts say that if Trump genuinely wants to stabilize the situation, $1,000 to $2,000 direct payments funded by tariff revenue could be a short-term solution, especially as millions brace for November without food aid. So what do you think? Should President Trump move forward with these checks, particularly for seniors, veterans, and low-income families losing SNAP support? If you support these payments, write in the comments, "I support stimulus checks." The reality is simple. Unless the government acts quickly, this shutdown could push millions of vulnerable Americans into food insecurity. Whether through a new stimulus program or an emergency budget agreement, something must change, and soon. Until then, all eyes are on Washington as millions wait anxiously to see whether SNAP benefits to halt in some states amid government shutdown becomes a tragic reality, or if leaders step in before it's too late.